It is Saturday, October 11th. The days just seem to be flying by. My face is almost totally healed from my fall when Sammy, my little energetic Papillon, pulled me on her leash and caused me to fall. It's almost totally healed. It's been just over a week. Today I'm going to talk about, should you get a financial advisor? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. I'm Sue and we are aging joyfully. Steve is busy right now, so I went ahead and decided to make this video by myself. I can't tell you what to do, and you probably shouldn't get your advice off of YouTube, but I'm going to tell you what we are doing. So once we hit roughly around 50 years old or so, we started getting all the invitations in the mail to come to a nice steak dinner or some event where we would listen to some speech about planning our retirement. We ignored all these invitations for about 10 years because if they're going to give you an elaborate steak dinner, they're going to want your money. But recently, once Steve lost his job over the summer, we had more time and we thought we'd go to some. We went to one, a movie at the at Regal at the Avalon in Alpharetta. It was a movie and they gave you a free book and free concessions, and they didn't give a lot of pressure, but they did get my email, and I do keep getting emails on a weekly basis. The other one was an invitation from our local library, someone who was more focused on taxes only in retirement, and that person has not really been in contact. He was more passive. He was more like you could do whatever you want, and he did not push, did not give anything free, and has not been in contact, even though he has my email and probably phone number as well. So I was watching a man on YouTube, and I just can't remember his name, but he lives in Crossville, Tennessee, and he has a pretty successful YouTube channel, a lot more followers than we have, and he was talking about, he shows his budget each month. He lives on Social Security of him and his wife, which is roughly around $4,000. He didn't really say how much he gets and if taxes were already withheld or Medicare was withheld, so I'm not really sure if it was $4,000. It could be as high as $5,000, because if tax and Medicare is withheld, then it could be $5,000 a month. I'm not really sure. He's 68, retired recently, and he said he has a financial advisor because his wife persuaded him to get one. Now, they live on Social Security but have some IRAs, and he didn't say how much, but they don't want to get money from them, and he decided he wanted to take some money out. So he contacted his financial advisor, who he did not say how much he pays. I have no idea what they cost. If it's a percent or a flat fee, I have no idea. And his financial advisor said, no, don't take money out. If you're just going to take it from your retirement account to your savings account and have no purpose for it, there's no reason to take it out. Well, I don't agree with that financial advisor. The stock market right now is at an all-time high. It's grossly inflated and will have to come down. Everything that goes up comes down. It will have to come down sometime. We don't know when, if it's tomorrow or if it's 6 months or a year or 2 years. Now, this man did not tell us if he has an emergency fund or how much savings he has, but you have emergencies all the time. You never know when you're going to need a $10,000, $20,000 new roof or dental work, or if you have a heart attack or something. So if you don't take money out and it's not in a liquid thing in your IRAs like cash or CDs or somewhere you can get it, then it may be a little challenging to get that money. Or if the stock market does crash before you take it out or come greatly down, you don't want to take it out when it's at an all-time low. So I was curious if this financial advisor told him not to take it out because it benefits him more than his client. If you don't have a financial advisor who's a fiduciary, that means that they're not going to do what's in your best interest. A fiduciary manages your money, that would be in your best interest. Now, even at that, saying it is in your best interest, I believe that it may not necessarily be your best interest. They may be putting it in funds that give them a higher commission. it's really hard to know. I know right now our IRAs have hidden fees that we don't even know what the fees are that they charge each month. When Steve lost his job, we did just move over his money, and we were being charged $8 a month just for them maintaining it, which is, I'm sorry, $8 a year, which is nothing. But on top of that, I'm sure there were other hidden fees that we were not aware of. We did not even know about the $8. It was not showing anywhere. And even though it's a small amount, it is a fee that we did not know of. So I was just curious if he told him not to take it out for his benefit. Now, I would also want to know, do you have money in cash and CDs in your IRAs that you can access if you do have one of those emergencies? And do you have an emergency fund outside of your IRA? So in my opinion, I would take some money out. Because we are at an all-time high, you should take it out when it's high. If you think you're going to get greedy and you want it to get higher and higher, it's going to come down and you're not going to have it. So to me, this is actually the time you do want to take money out. Things are going up rapidly. Health insurance is going up from 25 to 300% next year. Insurance for your homeowners insurance and cars is going up ridiculous amounts too, and healthcare costs, in addition to premiums, anything healthcare related is also going up greatly. So my advice would be to go ahead and take some out and put it in, maybe not cash, maybe a CD, maybe something, maybe a money market that you can get to on a daily basis. Money markets, I know, can pay roughly 3.3 to 3.5%, which is not very high, but you don't want to be greedy. You do want to have all different streams of money coming in. So I was curious as to what his whole financial situation is, and he said that his wife took out a large chunk of money to have implants for her teeth, and those are probably $20,000-$30,000. She had dentures, and she switched to implants. Personally, I would have kept the dentures because what I've read about implants is that they are at high risk for infections and are very painful and very costly. If you could wear dentures, I would just wear dentures. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I know that I almost lost a tooth a couple of years ago because I needed an emergency root canal, and they thought I might lose the tooth, and my dentist tried to tell me I was going to have to get an implant, and I decided that I would just live without that tooth if I had to have that tooth pulled. Luckily, they saved it, but she said all your teeth shift if that tooth is missing, and I just thought I would just live without it. I know lots of people who are missing back teeth, and I know your teeth shift, but the $4,000 for an implant, in addition to the pain, and if you get an infection, it could lead to a lot more serious issues. Plus, when you have surgery, I think they're concerned about implants in your mouth. Okay, so back to a financial advisor. A financial advisor, what they want you to do is their opinion. Is their opinion more valuable than your opinion? Yes, if you know nothing about money at all, perhaps their opinion is more important. I just feel like I don't have a sense of trust in financial advisors. I was grown up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and I would always hear about big musicians, very popular rich musicians who lost their life savings because their financial advisor was stealing their money. And I think that always stayed in the back of my head, that I lost a lot of trust for financial advisors. And then Oprah was huge in the 80s and 90s, and she would always say that she signed every single check that went out. She did not trust anyone to pay her bills. She looked at every single check because she knew a lot of financial advisors or managers might steal your money. So I've always had this lack of trust in other people, and I know that's probably not a good thing, but I think even if they know, they're aware of your situation, are they going to know what's best for you? Are they going to know your hopes and goals and where you want to travel? I know you're supposed to tell them that, but I just don't think that they'll ever know everything about you, that they may act in your best interest. So if you are weak in money, I've been reading books since I was a young young girl. I was reading finance books. I actually majored in finance in college. And in majoring in finance, we were required to take real estate finance, investment finance, corporate finance, as well as banking. So we had to take a whole variety of different financial courses. And I remember I never liked investments. I was always very conservative and didn't want to risk anything. At that time, I didn't have anything. But my professors would say, like, this is a sure thing. You invest this and you're going to be a millionaire. And I remember at a young age of 19 and 20 thinking, if you're making millions, why are you teaching? Why are you here teaching? I realized as a young woman that in theory, you can make millions. And this financial advisor may tell you you're going to make millions or you're going to do well. But in actuality, these people were still working. So I figured out that they weren't exactly truthful. And so that's another reason in the back of my head, I just don't really trust financial advisors. So I have always read books on retirement and things. And then Steve, who is my partner, my husband, he is the risk taker. I think in general, men take more risks than women. I mean, that's been proven that they do. So Steve puts our retirement in quite risky things. And I always tell him, don't be greedy. Don't be greedy because what goes up will come down. And I do tell him to back off. At our age, we're supposed to have so much in bonds, but at this point, bonds are getting risky because the economy is so unique today than ever before that there's a risk of bonds, there's a risk of a low return, there's a risk of doing nothing. Everything is a risk. Not making a decision is a decision, and that's a risk too. So today, the stock market is hyperinflated. It's crazy. It's super duper returns, and if you're not making huge returns, then something is definitely wrong because it is at an all-time high. But most of the stocks are a very limited stocks that everybody's making their money in, like Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Netflix. Everybody's making their money on just a handful of stocks, which is a big risk in itself. When it turns, it will all turn together. Like if you ever saw the movie Fun with Dick and Jane with of course, I can't think of his name. I'll find his name, put it on the screen. He worked for a company that he had his house in the company town. His job was there, and all of his retirement was in that company stock. And when it all crashed, which was probably the Great Recession, I believe, or .com, I'm not sure which era it was, his housing value went down, his retirement was gone, and he lost his job. So you never want to put all your eggs in the same basket. He lost everything, and then he went out looking for a job and trying to do manual work, and I think he lived in California. It was a funny movie. I believe it was Jim Carrey in that movie. Very, very funny movie. It must have been the Great Recession because Steve had lost his career job in the Great Recession. I remember watching and thinking, everybody's losing their jobs. Today, it's very similar. A lot of job losses, high inflation, everything's food, like I've said, food, housing, insurance, medical, everything is really out of control today. So, should you get a financial advisor? That's really on you. See what it costs, see what they're going to do for you, and then do you take their advice? I mean, it may be some good advice. We try to check our stocks at least weekly, if not more often. Twice in our marriage, we lost half of our retirement. It was at a time when you got statements in the mail and the internet was not so accessible. So by the time you got your statement, it was too late. Everything had plunged and there was nothing you could do. Today, it's so accessible, getting online and pulling up your statements. Now, a big thing going on now with job losses is scams. A lot of people are trying to scam you. Don't fall for any scams. And financial advisors, I'm not saying they're a scam, but you do have to be leery. My niece is going to become a financial advisor. She did not go to college or major in finance, and I'm proud of her, and she'll take some classes and tests. But I do wonder because I did taxes one year, and all I had to do was take one simple little test, and taxes were always my least favorite in college. In the business sector, it was one of the few C's I got. I hated taxes, and here I am doing people's taxes. And I did not feel at all prepared. So even though these financial advisors will have these classes under their belt, I do still hesitate and wonder how prepared or qualified they are, even if they have passed these classes and tests. So I don't know. I've always been kind of money savvy, not necessarily with investments, but common sense money things. And my niece, I think, has always been great in math, and she may do very well. And I hope her the best becoming a financial advisor. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people are becoming financial advisors today with the boom in the stock market. And once it crashes, are you going to blame your financial advisor or blame the environment or the stocks? Because what goes up does come down. It can't stay up forever. Supposedly, I think average returns are 8 to 10% a year, but they could be 35% one year and negative the next year, so they average out to 8 to 10%. I also discovered another young man who's in his 30s who talks somewhat about boomers and retirement and feels like boomers are getting a tough, unfair judgment that a lot of boomers are retiring with nothing or in a bad shape, because we were the guinea pigs of pensions first being gone and 401ks being new, and there weren't a lot of good investments at the time. And like I said, it wasn't online. You had to call somebody, and I don't even know how you invested. Steve did 100% back then because it was in his name, and there wasn't anything I could really do. So it wasn't so much that we were not diligent in doing our jobs. The situation stacked against us. And so a lot of boomers are retiring with nothing and becoming homeless. It's the biggest growing homeless population today are boomers. So if you feel uncomfortable, you feel you need a financial advisor, you could always get one short term and then quit using that person. Or you could go to the library and get books for free on investing, or just Google it online and study it online. And what I've seen is that there's been a lot of women's groups that were real diligent about following stocks, keeping notebooks, and they were able to make lots of returns. I don't want to say the returns have all been made. I think the stock market's still going up, but like I said, it has to come down. It is an artificial inflation, like the .com bust, where people lost quite a bit. It can't keep going up forever. It just can't. So in our retirement, we are actually, I wouldn't say more concerned, but very concerned about medical costs. The percent they are going up is out of proportion to anything. Steve was briefly on Medicare and a supplemental policy while he was unemployed, and we found out that, Medicare, I think, is going up, like Part B is going up about 11% or so, and the supplemental is going up 12 or 13%. So if it goes up at that rate every year, it's just going to become unaffordable at some point. That's pretty scary in itself. And that doesn't cover dental, hearing, or vision. So much of our medical we pay outside of our insurance because it just is cheaper, not necessarily cheap, but we both have CPAP machines and we get those outside of our insurance. Our vision, glasses, contacts, hearing aids, that's all outside of our medical. So there's huge expenses outside medical in addition to premiums. Hope it hasn't been too down. We do have some fun videos. I have been very lazy and haven't put on my videos from our trip we took. It's been about 6 weeks now. I put Providence Canyon, which is gorgeous. You should watch that. And then I still have a few more that I just have not done because they are very time consuming, and there's lots and lots of clips that I have to merge together, add music, and make it all look nice. So look for those other videos. I'll put some in the description, and Steve should be with me next time. He is just always busy now, working, and so much going on. Even though we don't even do that much, I think we've just slowed down. It takes longer to get things done. So until I see you again, take it easy.